Oh! John Heyman. Oh! John Heyman. Oh! John Heyman. Juan Soto to the Mets, 765 for 15 years. Oh! The Mets have done it. The Mets have done it. Oh my goodness, they did it. And there's the pass and tweet. There it is. If you wanted anything more official than that, there it is. Superstar outfielder Juan Soto and the New York Mets are in agreement on a 15-year, $765 million contract. Sources tell ESPN it is the largest deal in professional sports history. Juan Soto's 15-year, $765 million deal with the New York Mets includes no deferred money, according to sources, and has escalators that can reach above $800 million. The Mets have done it. They just said to the world, you can't call us the little brothers anymore because we just did that. We have all been talking about this for a while now. When it comes to the New York Mets, this has been something that has been talked about for a long time, right? Even go back to last offseason, the last couple of off seasons. People have said Juan Soto to the Mets. They absolutely needed this guy, right? Yes, you have Francisco Lindor in the fold, right? Coming off a great season. Has Fangraphs updated this? They have not updated this, ladies and gentlemen. They have not updated the lineup here. But listen, you got two stars now in this lineup. You got Soto. You got Lindor. You do have some young talent that, I think they need a bit more there, right? You got Luis Angel Acuna going. You got Mark Vientos coming off a breakout year. Francisco Alvarez is looking like a solid catcher of the future. Had a bit of a down year this past year, but Francisco Alvarez, I think, could be an absolute star. This is crazy. Absolutely. There's the picture, everybody. Juan Soto in a photoshopped Mets uniform. Wow. Absolutely crazy. But really, when you think about it, again, I'll just point out, it made sense. You had the money. You had the fit. You needed another star, right? Francisco Lindor. Yeah, you had Pete Alonso. That's another question that's going to have to be asked here. Will they bring back Pete Alonso at this point? Will they bring back Pete Alonso? I think they still could add another pitcher here, right? You just brought in Frankie Montas, Clay Holmes. Can they make an upgrade to the rotation? Can they do something? Can you bring in Corbin Burns? Can you maybe bring in someone like Max Fried? Maybe someone like Nathan Eovaldi. They have been interested in Nathan Eovaldi, Nick Pivetta, guys like that. Can you maybe swing something there, improve the rotation? I would like to think David Stearns, that's a guy that looks for value when it comes to the pitching. I would imagine they might not be in the ballpark for maybe someone like Corbin Burns, especially now that they brought in Juan Soto. Who knows? I mean, I know Mets fans are very excited, right? You got to kind of pump the brakes a little bit. I would think it's more likely they're going to try to bring in someone like Eovaldi, Pivetta, one of those kind of guys, right? Mid-tier kind of guys. But this is a franchise-altering move, not just for the talent level on the field, but you have now just changed the perception of the Mets. Yes, the Yankees are still going to have the Yankee symbol worldwide, but the Mets, they just did something that not a lot of people thought was possible not even 5 years ago. You had the Wilpons, things were never going right. They got to the World Series in 2015. But no one thought, I've seen so many off seasons, right? Where the Mets, you're thinking, man, really, this was our off season. This is what we did. What is happening here? You had that success in 2015, and after that, you just couldn't really get anything right. And it was frustrating, and it was LOL Mets. LOL Mets is dead. LOL Mets is dead. It's dead. Gone. Can't say it anymore. Right? Even if anything happens with the Mets, postseason or whatever moving forward, it doesn't matter because they landed the big fish. They landed a generational type of player. Whether you like it or not, they landed a guy that is on pace to be a Hall of Famer. And this is going to go down in history. People are going to look back at this, 50 years from now and be like, man, Juan Soto. Man, remember we went to the Mets? He was going to go back. He was with the Yankees, went to a World Series. And there it is. Went to the Mets. This is a franchise-altering move, not just on the field, but off the field. The Mets logo just got a lot better. The Mets logo just got more prestigious, whether you like it or not. This is crazy. This is crazy. SoundFX09, $10 super chat. This screams desperation. Wanted to be the Cinderella story so badly in 2024. Dodgers broke the Mets management. No way anyone makes an offer like this unless someone snapped in Queens. I think Steve Cohen snapped. I mean, you could say maybe it's a little bit of desperation. I mean, I think that's fair, though. I think that's fair. I think if there's ever a time to be desperate, this is it. This was the moment. If there's one time I think it's fair for teams or for whoever in life you got to have some desperate moments where you need something to happen. And sometimes you really got to push for something to happen. And maybe you got to make a big overpay at something to get something done. This is one I think the Mets needed to make. Yes, sure, you could say it's desperation, but I think it's justified. Yeah, huge overpay. Of course it's going to be an overpay. It's absolutely. I mean, Juan Soto, though, I will tell you this. That $51 million per year that he's going to be making, he's going to be worth every penny of that, at least over the first 7 years. He is just turning 26 years old. Just turned 26. He is absolutely going to be worth that. You look at his age, 25 season. He was worth $65 million. He is in his prime. He is just going into his prime. He is absolutely going to be worth that AAV over the first 7 years of the deal. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. He will absolutely be worth that. If he puts up $65 million in field value over the next 7 years, that's $450 million in field value. Then he's going to have to figure out a way, over the next 8 years to put up another $310 million in value. That's going to be the worrisome part. That I think everyone can agree with. This guy is going to be huge for the Mets for the next 7 years. And I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets win a World Series at some point in the next few years. I wouldn't be at all. You got Lindor, you got Soto, you got a guy in David Stearns that knows how to put some things together. This has all come together for the Mets over the last few years. I mean, this has been trending this way. You brought in Steve Cohen. He became the man in Queens. He wanted to deliver a championship. The Mets fans rallied behind him. You got Lindor extended. You got that done. You made that happen. You've made some moves along the way to try to get you to be competitive. Some didn't work out. Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander for a couple examples, right? Sometimes you got to swing big because, again, their farm system over the last few years, it's been rebuilding. And they've got it to a pretty decent place, right? But when you think about everything they've done over the last few years, Cohen, rebuilding that farm, you brought in David Stearns, you've made, a couple of pretty good moves along the way. David Stearns is a guy that knows how to find value. David Stearns is the perfect guy. Steve Cohen, David Stearns is a perfect combo because Steve Cohen is going to bring in the big guns while David Stearns, he's going to make those smaller moves, right? That, it's just everything going this way. Everything's been going this way. It's been trending this way. And I've been saying all offseason, I wouldn't be surprised if Soto went back to the Mets. I really thought there's a good chance he went back to the Yankees. I did predict him going back to the Yankees at the end of the day. I really did. I really thought it was going to happen because at the end of the day, they just got to a World Series. But when you think about the two teams, when you think about the two organizations right now, yes, the Yankees did just get to a World Series. Yes, they have the pinstripes. Yes, they got the logo that's worldwide. But right now, as an organization, after especially seeing how things happened in the World Series, Juan Soto, this is a guy, he's a generational kind of player. He sees what's happening in the World Series. Aaron Judge dropping a ball. Garrett Cole, Anthony Rizzo, the miscommunication at first base. You completely blew a lead that could have ended up, that game looked like you were on track to win and go back to LA. And he sees all of that happen. That's a bad taste in your mouth. But then you see a team like the Mets who are on the rise a little bit, right? Over the last few years. Yeah, kind of came up short a little bit along the way. But they tried at least. And at least if you go back to Scherzer and Verlander, you go back to that, and they still made up for it. They turned lemons into lemonade. They ended up trading them. They got prospects back in return. Yeah, they had to pay off some of the contracts a little bit, but they still got some good value out of it, right? So give them that credit. The Mets, they've been trending this way, and I got to give them a lot of credit. Again, this is a franchise-altering move on and off the field. The Mets logo just gained a lot of value. The Mets are, I'm going to say this. I think the Mets at some point in the next 5 years, they are going to have a great shot at winning a World Series. I think you could even say with Soto in the fold, I mean, they're going to have, I think, a pretty good shot here to really go after it. I do think for the Mets, I will say this again, I do think you're going to have to add something. Listen, I like Mark Vientos, but I would like for the Mets to put a formidable bat behind Soto because you got to remember, Aaron Judge, that was amazing protection for Soto. Amazing protection. I like Vientos. I do. I really enjoyed the breakout year. What's he going to look like moving forward? Pete Alonso, I think that's a guy that is going to provide you some good protection in the lineup. If not Alonso, could you go after someone else? With the rotation, I feel like they could use something else here. Sure, Clay Holmes, creative move. Frankie Montas, could he end up maybe working his way back a little bit more after being, gone for a while, after getting shoulder surgery, worked his way back last year? Can we see an even better Frankie Montas this coming year? Maybe. I feel like they need something atop the rotation here with Kadai Senga, who missed a lot of time this past year. I think they need something else. Juan Soto's big, obviously, but I do think they need to make a couple more moves, if that makes sense. Just to smooth out the edges a little bit, if that makes sense. Mets fans, let me know what you think about that. I know this is a very exciting time. I'm not trying to bring down the mood. I'm just trying to be realistic. I feel like there are a couple more moves to be made. I don't think you need to go out there and go get someone like Corbin Burns, but maybe someone like Nathan Eovaldi. I think honestly, Eovaldi could make a lot of sense. A postseason guy. You're in a competitive window right now. Maybe Eovaldi sees somewhere like Queens. He's not going to be a big expensive contract like Corbin Burns or Max Fried. Probably going to be a 3-year deal tops. I think that could end up being a really nice fit. I think Eovaldi could be great. And rapid transit, you make a great point as well. Starling Marte, my goodness, that contract is not looking very good right now. He's going to be coming off the books at some point. The Mets payroll, it's looking, even with this massive salary on it, it still doesn't look terrible. moving forward, right? Frankie Montas, I would imagine he's going to be, I would imagine if he has a good year, he's going to go back out into the market next year. And then David Stearns will just work his magic yet again. He'll find someone else to try and tap into some value. Blake Treinen, what's going on? Blake Treinen back to the Dodgers. Okay. Blake Treinen back to the Dodgers. Well, there goes that. Well, the Dodgers are making some moves. Well, my Red Sox, we got to make a move here. What's going on? For the payroll moving forward. Yeah, I mean, Lindor, Soto, obviously, that's a lot of money. You got Nimmo on there, but Marte is going to be coming off. That's $20 million coming off the books. Arbitration, Blackburn will come off next year. Honestly, I think at this point, I think the Mets need to add one more bat, because I think you need to figure out third base as well. Brett Beatty has been in the rumor mill. If I were to make a prediction here, I think Brett Beatty is probably going to be going elsewhere at some point. I could see Mark Vientos being the third baseman, and they bring back either Pete Alonso or Christian Walker. I could see something like that. I think Christian Walker would be a great pickup for this team if Pete Alonso goes elsewhere. That'd be great, man. Christian Walker, a guy that's very valued in the clubhouse, very well respected. I would love that as a good fallback. Pete Alonso, yeah, he's a fan favorite. It really comes down to the contract at the end of the day. I could see Pete Alonso maybe taking a bit of a hometown discount a little bit. We'll see. Alex, maybe Arenado. Maybe. You could maybe see something like that. Maybe the Mets will take on Arenado there. Yeah, so maybe you can go after a third baseman, right? Could you? I don't think Alex Bregman is going to be in the cards at this point. I don't think, I just don't see the Mets doing a 6-year deal. That's why I almost wonder if Christian Walker, could you get him for less years than Pete Alonso? I feel like that's probably possible. I could see Pete Alonso maybe wanting like a 5 or 6 year deal. I could see Christian Walker, a guy, I believe he's 34 years old at this point, maybe doing like a 4-year deal, something like that. Max, maybe even a 3. I would probably think a 4-year deal, but you could do Christian Walker at first, or if you turn to third, right? I mean, if you got some options here in free agency, I don't think Bregman, I feel like they're probably not going to go that far there. But if you're looking at other third basemen, if I'm thinking of guys that Stearns could have his eye on in free agency, I mean, I don't know. Probably not Rojas. I don't know. Could you look at like someone like Jorge Polanco? I could see maybe David Stearns looking at Jorge Polanco and thinking, maybe we could get a bounce back year out of him. Or Yohan Moncada. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying those are the good ideas, but I wonder if David Stearns would be willing to do something like that. Right? Or bring in Arenado. I don't think Arenado's bat would be great at Citi Field, a picture-friendly park. I feel like that's probably a bad fit. Really, at this point, I think you should do what you can to bring in or to bring back Pete Alonso, right? Fan favorite. I mean, could you imagine? That's a really good top of the order, man. You would have Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Vientos batting cleanup. Brandon Nimmo batting 5th. Ladies and gentlemen, are we going to see the Yankees go absolutely crazy here? They need something at third base or first base, potentially. Well, now your outfield. Listen, I'm going to bank on Jason Dominguez being a dude this coming year. Another option you could do, now that I'm thinking about it, you could do Jazz, like you said in the chat. You could do Jazz at second. You could have Judge play center, and you could bring in Santander or Teoscar, right? Teoscar, all of a sudden, Teoscar just got interesting because, I know that the Dodgers brought in Conforto. I know that. I got that. But the Yankees losing Juan Soto here, Teoscar Hernandez just got very excited. Very excited. It makes me wonder. Because Teoscar, he's a perfect replacement for right field. I agree, though. Dario Santana, Anthony Santander looks like a Yankee. I think Santander would be a nice fit. Yes, he doesn't have the plate discipline of Juan Soto, but he's got a good amount of pop. I think that would be a good fit. I think Santander would be very nice for the Yankees. So for me, if I'm thinking about it, keep Jazz at second. I would love Jazz out in center field. I would, because I love the speed. But there's not really a whole lot of other great options at second base. You could go Peraza or Cabrera. But if you want to keep the talent level high, you go Jazz at second base. Judge in center field, Santander in right field. And then I'd probably do Bregman at third. I really would. Now, if you do... So, Juan Soto, he was an 8 wins above replacement this past year. So, you got Dominguez. Let's say he's projected for 2.5 wins above replacement. Okay. Bregman, he's projected for 4. Okay, so that's 6.5 right there. Santander, he's projected probably for 2.5? That's what I think the Yankees got to do moving forward. Yeah, he's right around 2.5. So I think right there, I think that's got to be the backup for the Yankees or Teoscar. I think Bregman at this point is the guy. I think he's the guy. Juan Soto is a New York Met, man.